The past is then, the present is now, the future is later. The past is then, the present is now, the future is later. I play the drums, I am playing the drums. I will play the drums because I love being noisy. I jump so high, I'm jumping so high. I will jump so high on the trampoline. The past is then, the present is now, the future is later. The past is then, the present is now, the future is later. I ate my lunch, I am eating my lunch. I will eat my lunch in the canteen. I wore my coat, I am wearing my coat. I will wear my coat because it's freezing. The past is then, the present is now, the future is later. The past is then, the present is now, the future is later.
Oh, hi there! The song you've heard has something to do with what we call verb tenses, composed by past, present, and future tense, which are also divided into four, either simple, perfect, continuous, and simple perfect continuous. I am CLARISSA de la CRUZ. Together with my adherents, we will be going to discuss verb tenses. But before that, let me present the learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to define the past, present, and future tenses, differentiate the past, present, and future tenses, construct a sentence using the correct verb in past, present, and future tenses, and show enthusiasm in learning verb tenses. So are you ready and excited to learn about verb tenses? I can hear you. Very good. So without further ado, let's start. Verb tenses comes in three tenses. These are the past, where action is already finished, present, which is happening right now, and the future, which is yet to happen. For you to better understand those tenses and how they use in a sentence, let us use some abbreviations or hints as our formula for every tenses. Let us start with present tense. It is used to describe things that are happening right now. The first one is what we call the simple present tense. The formula for simple present tense is simply subject plus V1 plus the object. It is formed by adding ES or S to the end. If the verb ends with Y and the letter before it is vowel, you're just gonna add S to the end. For example, play. In simple present tense, it will become plays. Aside from that, those verbs end with O, SS, GH, TH, CH, Z, or even X, you're just gonna add ES. For example, go. It will become goes. Another example, mix. It will become mixes. How about in negative form? Simply, you're just gonna add the word does not in the sentence, mostly if you are using regular verbs in third person. For example, he does not play basketball. How about you are using the regular verbs in first and second person? Simply this one. For example, I do not play basketball. How about you are asking a question? Simply like this. For example, does he play basketball? Second is what we call the present continuous. It happens regularly. And the formula for present continuous is simply subject plus aim, is, are, plus verb with ing plus the object. Present continuous is only applicable in dynamic verbs, which shows actions or process, and not on stative verbs, which includes emotions, thoughts, and possessions. Now, how to use present continuous in a sentence? Simply, we are listening to a song. How about make it in a negative form? Simply add the word not or it will become aren't. For example, we aren't listening to a song. The third one is the present perfect. It occurred in the past and continued to the present time. The formula for present perfect is subject plus has or have plus VT plus the object. Present perfect is formed by adding ed or d to the end. And to make it in a negative form, just like in the present continuous, you will just gonna add not on the sentence. For example, it will become hasn't or haven't. And the last one in present tense is we have the present perfect continuous. It is started from the past and continuing in the present. The formula for present perfect continuous is simply subject plus has or have plus been plus verb with ing plus the object. Present perfect continuous is simply like the present perfect tense. The only difference is you have to add the word been and the verb with ing. And that will be all in the present tense. I hope you learned something on how to use the simple present, present perfect, present continuous, and present perfect continuous in a sentence.
Now, let's move to the past tense. It is used to describe things that have already happened. Each type consists of four. The first type is the simple past. It is a verb tense that is used to talk about things that happened or existed before now. The formula for simple present tense is subject plus be2 or past form plus object. In making simple past negative, the formula is did not plus root form of verb. You can also use the contraction didn't instead of did not. For example, in passive simple past, Emma went to school. In negative simple past, Emma did not go to school. While in asking a question, the formula is did plus subject plus root form of verb. For example, did Emma go to school? And these are the common regular and irregular verbs in the simple past.
Past continuous. Past continuous tense is a tense of an ongoing action or occurrence in the past that stopped in the present time. This tense is formulated by the subject plus the linking verb was or were plus the verb with ing and plus the object. An example of this tense is they were writing an essay. They is the subject, were is the linking verb, writing is the verb with ing, and essay is the object. What do we do if we need it in a negative form? Simply put not in the sentence. Like for example, they were not or they weren't writing an essay. And what do we do if we need it for asking a question? Simply put the linking verb were or was in the first part of the sentence, plus the subject, followed by the verb with ing, and lastly is the object. Like for example, were they writing an essay?
Past perfect, or also called pluperfect. It is a verb tense used to talk about action that were completed before some point in the past. The formula for this is subject plus had plus be3 or past participle plus object. Making the past perfect negative is simple. Just insert not between had and past participle. For example, in past perfect positive, they had bought a new phone. In past perfect negative, they hadn't bought a new phone. For the formula for asking a question in the past perfect tense, had plus subject plus past participle. For example, had they buy a new phone? And these are the common regular and irregular verbs in the past perfect.
Past perfect continuous. Past perfect continuous is used when an action or occurrence was started in the past, continued up until another time in the past. This tense is formulated by the subject, plus the verb had, plus the verb been, plus the verb with ing, and lastly, plus the object. Example of this tense is, he had been reading novels since morning. He is the subject, had and been are the linking verbs, reading is the verb with ing, and novels is the object. What do we do if we need it in a negative form? Simply put not in the sentence. Like for example, he had not or he hadn't been reading novels since morning. And what do we do if we need it for asking a question? Simply put the verb had in the first part of the sentence, followed by the subject, and then the verb been, plus the verb with ing, and lastly, the object. Like for example, had he been reading novels since morning?
Future tense is a verb tense that is used to talk about the things that haven't happened yet. Simple future tense, it is about discussing events that haven't yet occurred. So the simple future verb tense will be used. In short, it occurred in the future. So how to form the simple future tense? Remember that we need to memorize the formula to easily understand and form it well. The formula is will plus the root or the base form of the verb. Example, I will drive you to your lesson at 4 p.m. In the sentence, we use will and the base form of the verb is drive. Another example, Jace will ride his new bicycle. We use the verb will and the base form is ride. Last example, is that my sisters will swim in the river? In this sentence, we used will and the base form is swim. Now, how do you use the simple future tense in negative form? The formula is will plus not plus the root or base form. Example, Sophia will not wash her dishes in the sink. Here we used will plus not plus wash as the root word or root form of the verb. Next, he will not go to court without his friends. We use will plus not plus go as a root form of the verb. But how do you ask a question using simple future tense? Remember the formula will plus the subject plus the root or base form of the verb. Example, will Jack join the pageant at school? In this example, we used will and Jack is our subject plus join as a root form of the verb. Next is, what will you do after competition? We used will and you as subject plus do as the root form of the verb.
Hi everyone, I am teacher Kimberly and I'm going to discuss the future continuous tense. What is future continuous tense? So, it is also referred to as the future progressive tense. It is a verb tense that indicates that something will occur in the future and continue for an expected length of time. So, how can we construct future continuous tense? So, it has a formula of will plus be plus the present participle or the root verb with an ing. So, let's have an example. Ben will be going home. Is the subject plus will plus be plus going, that is present participle, and the object or home. How about we make it in negative form? So, it will be Ben will not be going home. Simply just put not between will and be. And how about asking a question? So it will turn out, will Ben go home? So will plus subject plus base form of verb and the object. But take note that the future continuous tense is for action verbs only. It is important to note that the future continuous tense is only used with action verbs. because it is possible to do them for a duration or expected time.
Now let's move to future perfect tense. When activity will be finished before another point in the future perfect verb tenses is employed. So the pattern or formula for making the future perfect tense is subject plus will or be going to plus have plus verb in the past participle. Example is, by the time I am 27 years old, I will have my own house. There are two future events in the sentence. The first one is that I will have my own house, and the second one is that by the time I am 27 years old. But since we talk about the event that will happen before another event in the future, then we have to talk about this. This is our perfect future tense. That's why we have a sentence, by the time I am 27 years old, I will have my own house. We don't use future tense in the time classes. We use simple present instead. We don't say by the time I will be 27 years old. We say by the time I am 27 years old. Another example is that her mother will come home before her birthday. The two future perfect were her mother will come home and her birthday. And in a negative sentence, we would simply follow the formula, which is the subject plus will, not, or won't, plus have, plus the verb in past tense. Her mother will not have come home before her birthday. And another example is, she will not have finished eaten her breakfast before 8 a.m. For the question, we simply follow the pattern will plus subject plus have plus verb in the past participles. For example, will her mother have come home before her birthday? And another one is she going to have finished her breakfast meal before 8 a.m.? And that's all for the two tenses under future tense.
Now let's talk about future perfect continuous. The future perfect continuous is also called the future perfect progressive. It is a verb tense that describes action that will continue up until a point in the future. The future perfect continuous consists of will plus have plus been and the verb's present participle or the root verb with an ing. When we describe an action in the future perfect continuous tense, we are projecting ourselves forward in time and looking back at the duration of that activity. The activity will have begun sometime in the past, present, or in the future, and is expected to continue in the future. So, for example, he will have been driving a car at 7 p.m. tomorrow. He as the subject, will plus have plus been, and driving as a present participle, and the object. Now, let's make it in negative form. It is simply, he will not have been driving a car at 7 p.m. tomorrow. And to make it as a question, will have he been driving a car at 7 p.m. tomorrow? So, will plus have plus subject plus been and the present participle. In this case, non-action verbs do not use the future perfect continuous. Non-action verbs like to be, to seem, or to know are not suited to the future perfect continuous tense. Instead, these verbs take the future perfect tense, which is formed with will plus have and plus past participle. And that's all. Thank you.
Keep safe and God bless.